What's up, everybody? Ben Grove here with my Phantasmal Flames Cube review. Uh, Cube is my favorite way to play the Pokemon TCG. It's basically just a custom format where you draft a predetermined pool of cards and build some decks with you and your best 7 friends. It's a place where like creativity really shines, and you get to see a lot of unique interactions between cards that never existed in the standard space together. So that's really what I like the most about it, and it's always a blast to get some friends together in Cube. If you're new to Cube and you want to check out some resources, CubeCoga.net is the best place to do that. We're going to hop right into reviewing some cards, and we'll start with some cards that are some spiritual reprints of cards that we already have out there. And the first one up is Punk Helmet, which is a Rocky helmet that puts 4 damage counters on the opponent's active only when it's attached to a dark type. So it's a souped up version of Rocky Helmet, or like a slightly nerfed version of Rock Guard. And I think the damage space that it comes in between is like a really cool spot, because a lot of times Rocky Helmet isn't that strong, but Rock Guard is way too strong. And Punk Helmet might be like, if you have a dark type archetype in your cube that's like slightly underpowered, this is, I think, a great way to pump it up. Also, like with some really high powered dark type cards like Yveltal GX, this is just like a perfect synergy card for that. So Punk Helmet could be a really great include for your cube. Next up is Wondrous Patch. And once again, we've seen a lot of patch effects before in the Pokemon trading card game. You attach a basic Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Psychic Pokemon. And we've had Dark Patch, we've had Aqua Patch, we've had Metal Saucer, all do the same things for their own types. And Wondrous Patch is just the next in the line of that. I wonder if we'll get a full cycle at some day. I don't think Wondrous Patch is that impactful for Cube, and the reason is we've already got a lot of great Psychic Acceleration. Like the examples I have here, Gardevoir gets energy from the deck, Malamar gets it from the discard, Xatu gets it from the hand. So really, you can already kind of pick your poison for Psychic types already. Wondrous Patch is just like maybe an option if you're looking to have some extra Psychic flavor in your item cards, but I think it's a fine card, but not one that's really that exciting. Next up is Blowtorch. You can only use this card if you discard a basic fire energy card from your hand, and when you do, you can discard a tool, a special energy card, or a stadium in play. Now this effect is super potent because it's just very flexible, and each mode is really useful in Cube. We've seen this effect before on Dangerous Drill. The cost for Dangerous Drill is discarding a dark Pokemon. So Blowtorch is like a little bit more accessible, I think. And I also kind of don't recommend either of these cards for Cube, mostly because this effect comes at a premium, and it's a decision that you want to have your Cube drafters make. Like, you want to have players fighting over the field blowers or the tool scrappers, but if your fire deck or your dark deck automatically just like gets this card for free and you don't have to like fight over it, it's not as fair. Now the one place that I do think that this card can be valuable is if your fire types have maybe like a more controlling archetype. So like the Houndoom EX here has a mill attack, and the Numel here has a discarded energy, and you get to discard one from your opponent's Pokemon too. So in conjunction with those, I think that Blowtorch is really effective in Cube and can be a real boon for those archetypes. Like if you imagine discarding a special energy and then discarding another energy with your attack from the Numel, that can be like really devastating. So I think this can be cool for control elements, but for general use, I don't think I recommend. Moving on into some stadiums here, we've got Battle Coliseum, which prevents all damage counters from being placed on bench Pokemon by the effects of attacks or abilities used by the opponent's Pokemon. So this is like an anti-Dusk Noir card in Standard. But it's kind of cool because we've seen similar things before with Mountain Ring or Sky Pillar, but they all have just like varying degrees of blocking different things. So really, I think what this card does is it really allows you to kind of like pick your poison as to like what your cube needs. So like say maybe your cube has quick shooting Inteleon, which Sky Pillar or Mountain Ring couldn't do anything about. If maybe that card's been something that like your players in your group want to have, but they think it's really strong, maybe you include a Battle Coliseum as some counterplay to that. So I think this card can be cool because it just gives cube builders options, and options are always great to have. Next up is Vertigo Valley, which when it's in play, confused Pokemon don't recover from confusion when they evolve or devolve. Basically, this card is just a worse Sea of Nothingness. Sea of Nothingness just does it for all special conditions. The only place I would see you putting this in your cube is if you have basically a confusion archetype in your cube, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later. Now we're going to move on to some Pokemon. First, with some evolving mons here. This Charmander has a really great ability that gives it free retreat if there's no energy attached to it, which is awesome. The Piplup here has got a great attack, and so does the Prinplup. It's a really accessible attack, and we've actually had a lot of really strong attacking Prinplups over the years. And finally, the Cottony has just has Collect, which is always a really nice thing to have. The Cottony actually got shifted from the main set. It's now in like promo packs for us internationally, but honestly that's kind of cooler for Cube because then you get like a special shiny foil effect on your Cottony, so I'm all in on that. But these can be great options if you've got these lines in your cube already. All right, and now into some of the actual Pokemon. Our first one up here is Genesect, which we're looking at it specifically for the Bug Cannon attack, which you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 20 damage to it for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. And I think a card like this kind of fills the same space in Cube as like an attacker like Shining Genesect here, which does damage that's related to how many grass energy are attached to it. But this Genesect is really special, and I kind of wanted to shout it out for that reason. This is only the third card that we've had that does damage based on number of energy attached to it of a type to the bench. Normally we only see that effect hitting the active, like we saw in that last Genesect. But this Grimmsnarl before and Alolan Exeggutor V were the first times we've seen this effect, and now with Bug Cannon here with Genesect. I think the Genesect is the most cueable. The Exeggutor V is really, really strong, and the Grimmsnarl being a stage 2 is I think a little bit weaker, but this Genesect kind of shoots the gap here and is a happy medium that I think is really great. I would actually warn with this Genesect not to pair it with the Meganium from the Mega Evolution set we just had. Reason being, like, if this Meganium evolves on turn 2, you're sniping 80 damage to your opponent's bench, which I don't think is really fun, because basically you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna like continuously snipe out all of your basics that you're trying to evolve if you go first. Like, that is not necessarily a fun cube environment. So I would shy away from using this Meganium and Genesect together, but separately they're both great cube cards. All right, now we're going to talk about that Confusion archetype that I mentioned. The Brambleghast from this set has an ability, Panic Prison. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve on your Pokemon, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon confused. Which is an okay ability, just it's fine by itself, but there have been some cards over the years that really have synergized with Confusion. Yeah, the Vertigo Valley that's coming out right now. This Parsect is one of my favorite cards of all time. I don't know why, but I really do just love it. Basically, it turns Confusion into like a toxic poison type situation. The Panic Spores put 2 damage counters on your opponent's confused Pokemon between turns. And then There's also cards like this Shiftry with its Unlucky Wind. Whenever your opponent flips a coin during his return treated as tails, that counts for the like confusion check. There's this Shiftry, plus there's also a Malamar that does this exact same thing. So Bramblegast is just another one in a long list of like enablers for confusion. The effect isn't necessarily new. We've seen cards that evolve and give confusion, but it's just another one, and it's cool to have. And it comes out in the same set as Vertigo Valley, which basically prevents your opponent from one of the main ways of getting out of confusion, either retreating or evolving. So these are really great cards to have, and I honestly highly recommend like a confusion archetype like this. This is in one of my cubes, and it's one of my pet decks, I think. Next up is another one of the pre-release cards, this Toxtricity with its Sinister Surge. Once during your turn, you can search your deck for a basic Dark Energy and attach it to one of your bench Dark Pokemon. When you attach an energy that way, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. Now, we have seen this effect before. There's a Gardevoir all the way back in Ruby and Sapphire that does the same thing for Psychic Energy. And then Single Strike Houndoom, which Single Strike Houndoom kind of frustrated me where it only pulled out Single Strike Energy, because it was like so close to being a cubable card. But this Toxtricity, it basically fills that void I was looking for. So I'm really excited for this Toxtricity. Now, the one caveat to this card is it does do 100 damage for 3 energy, so it can't be really paired with cards like from Gen 6 or older, because it just does too much damage. It has 140 HP on a stage 1, so it's kind of beefy, so you got to use it with older cards. But I think there's tons of different ways you can pair this with some high-powered cards. Like Darkrai EX, which does 20 damage more for each Dark Energy, so you're just flooding the board with Dark Energy. Or maybe you pair with Weavile GX and you move all that energy around. Or maybe you pair it with some really cool attackers that have high attack costs. This Guzzlord, you could, like, if you have a DCE attach in there, you can start swinging with this Guzzlord on turn 2. So there's a lot of potential already in Dark type Pokemon out there for this guy to power up, so that your Dark type isn't just like, oh, I'm playing Dark Patch. I think this card's more interactive and more fun, and I'm excited to see it in Cube. Now, this Weavile, which is another one of the cards that shifted from the main set into promo packs, this is by far my most frustrating card of the set. The attack is so cool. The Claws of Retribution. If this Pokemon is 50 HP or less, this attack does 170 more damage. Now, one of the main ways you probably like see how this set was built, like it can work with Toxtricity. Like if Toxtricity powers it up, 2 Toxtricity uses equals, it's down from 90 HP to 50 HP. And where I kind of like was really excited about this card, with the exception of if you don't fulfill that condition, the rest of the card is pretty vanilla and pretty underpowered. Like 2 for 60, 90 HP. That fits in really well with like cards from Generation 4. So it has like a really wide breadth that it can fit in with. However, it's like so frustratingly close to like having combos that can power it up, but just like not quite. So there's the aforementioned Toxtricity, but you either have to have like 2 Toxtricity in play, or like 2 turns worth of Toxtricity, or like a surprise time machine to reuse the effect of Toxtricity, which means it's not just like a 2-card combo. You gotta at least have 3 cards. I thought about Frozen City. I think Frozen City is actually the best way to play it, but you have to have Frozen City in play like the first turn you use it. So Frozen City puts 2 damage counters on any Pokemon that gets an energy attached if it's not a Team Plasma Pokemon. So you would have to play it on turn 1, attach on turn 1, it takes 20 damage, and then attach on turn 2, and it takes 20 more damage, it's down to 50. I thought of Team Rocket's Venture Bomb is a decent way to play it, but you would have to have like 2 Venture Bomb uses, and you would have to flip Tails both times. So I that one's kind of iffy. Now, I will say that, like, if you whiff on the Venture Bomb and you end up just putting 20 damage on your opponent's Pokemon, I mean, that's fine, and it, like, helps power up the damage of Cut. So I think it's still kind of worth it. I really wish there's only 2 cards ever that have reduced HP. This Metagross, which gives, actually, sorry, there's 3. There's a Toxtricity, but it only reduces HP on VMAXs, so that doesn't count. There's this Gravitation Metagross, but the effect doesn't stack. And then there's Gravity Mountain, but that only reduces HP on stage 2s. So we've just been so close, and maybe this Weavile, maybe there's a card in the future that really unlocks this Weavile. But right now it's just like so close to being there. I think I'm still gonna put this in my cube because I like it better than one of the Weaviles I have. And I already have Frozen City in the cube, so I think it's a no-brainer include for me. But this card is just like so close, and I really want it to work. All right, now moving on to some new trainer cards that are like some new space in Pokemon, and this one is my favorite, I think, of the trainer cards, and definitely my favorite art. I love how the ice cream is like rotated to fit inside the frame, because it kind of makes it look like it's doing a frame break. It kind of looks like Jumbo Ice Cream EX. Like I want an EX full art treatment of this Jumbo Ice Cream. I don't know. But the effect of it is heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon that has 3 or more energy attached. I think this is really, really cool in the cube space. It's kind of on the same power level as cards like Max Potion or Gold Potion, where they're really great healing effects, but they have opportunity costs with them. Max Potion, you have to discard all energy attached. Gold Potion, it takes up your A-Spec slot. Now, Jumbo Ice Cream, the opportunity cost is it has to be on a Pokemon that has 3 more energy attached. That's probably the lowest opportunity cost of all of these cards. But I think it does something really good for Cube, because you can't just slap this on like your really aggressive attackers as easily. So like this doesn't work as well with Donphan Prime, which is just like a 1 energy attacker that's doing 1 energy 60, 1 energy 60. You would have to really like actually commit energy to it. So I think this card most likely works best in cube, where it's just a 1 of in the cube. A lot of cubes are singleton anyway, but like having this as a 1 of, it's kind of on the same power level as Max Potion or Gold Potion, but I think it's honestly just more flavorful, pun intended. And that's another cool thing about this Jumbo Ice Cream, is that we're just like getting a critical mass of like cool food related cards in Pokemon. And so like I think that potentially like that's a cool sub theme for your cube, is if you just like have all of the different foods in there. I don't know, that's fun. I'm excited about Jumbo Ice Cream, probably more than I should be, but yeah. All right, next up is Sacred Charm. And Sacred Charm, the Pokemon this card is attached to, takes 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any abilities. Now, this card like really seems cool, and like the first time I read it, I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is great for decks that are not based on abilities to punish your opponent for using abilities. And like those kind of cards are really interactive in Cube, because a lot of cubes have kind of a dichotomy where there's like decks that are like the really go decks that want to use a whole bunch of energy, and then there's the decks that are just like, I am just simply attaching and attacking, and I'm gonna play cards that are gonna shut down all your abilities. And I thought this card would fit perfectly into that. But then I kind of like dove into it, and I realized, no, you can just like put this on anything. Like your best ability user still gets the bonus from this effect. So in the end, I think this card is just like a worse full face card. Now, full face card reduces less damage, but it only works when it's attached to a Pokemon that has no abilities. So I think in the end, full face card is more balanced for Cube than Sacred Charm is. And so for that reason, like I'm not as hype on Sacred Charm as I thought I would be. All right, and then we've got Grimsley's Move, which this card's already out, and I think it's maybe going to do some cool things in Standard, and it's definitely going to do some cool things in Cube. With Grimsley's move, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put a dark Pokemon you find onto your bench of any stage. Shuffle the other cards and put them on top, bottom of your deck. You can't use this card during your first turn. So the not during your first turn kind of gates it to just like you're not just like turn 1 going second, just like completely jumping out of the gate. And so there's a good bit of balance already baked into it. And I think in Cube, there's a lot of really great ways to enable this. You've got cards like Mag Cargo, you've got cards like Academy at Night, maybe Primate Wisdom or in Guru. There's a lot of really great ways, like cards that are already good in Cube and that are probably in your Cube already, that really go well with Grimsley's move. And then kind of the sky's the limit as to like what things you can cheat into play. Here are some of the favorites that I've thought about. It's really flavorful with Phantom Transformation Zoroark, I think, because you're already like cheating things into play. And so why not cheat a Zoroark into play too? Zoroark GX, I mean, that's just like one of the most powerful darkness type / powerful cards ever. And maybe this Hydreigon, which is has just a rain dance for dark types. It didn't see any play when it was in Standard, which is crazy. But it would be really powerful in Cube. And I think what you can do with Grimsley's move, you don't necessarily have to include the basics for some of these really powerful cards in your Cube. Maybe you have just like a couple Grimsley's move in the Cube as like part of your dark archetype. And the dark archetype is just like, hey, I've got good stage 2s that you can just cheat into play, and you just roll the dice and see what you get, or you have ways to enable it, like Academy at Night or things like that. So I think a card like this can really enable creative decks in Cube, and that's my favorite thing. The thing that I thought of is probably like the coolest thing that you could do with Grimsley's move was if you had like a Gen 3 era Cube where like you had just like Rocklock as an archetype in your Cube. I think that would be a really cool way to up the consistency of it, because both of the guys are dark type. So I'm really excited for what Cube builders do to put Grimsley's move on the map in Cube, and I'm really excited for what cool dark types we cheat into play. All right, and that's my list of cards to look out for putting in your Cube. What do you think I missed? Did I get it right? Do you think some of these cards that, like, I actually mentioned that some of these cards are gonna kind of be stinkers in Cube. Do you disagree with me? Let me know down below in the comments, and we'll see you next time for the next Cube review.